So we were brought back down to earth with a bump, wasn't we, following last week's fantastic victory in the North London derby. This was a very difficult game at Brighton. We were maybe fortunate to hang on for a goalless draw. So in this video, we are going to look back on that performance and analyse what went wrong. Just before we get into all that, if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you do like some great Arsenal content. We also cover the Arsenal women on this channel as well. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. Please share the content around. And if you've got any comments at all about the game at Brighton, what were your thoughts on the performance? Please drop them in the box. It is great to hear from you guys. So we've got a lot to get through on the video coming up after this. Hello, my name is Richard. Welcome back to my channel. Over and over again, the Arsenal podcast. I say we are going to look back on Saturday's disappointing performance here at Brighton. A goalless draw in the end, which maybe we were very fortunate to come away with anything, wasn't we? But anyway, we are going to look at the team lineups. We are going to analyse the performance, and we're going to try to select a man of the match from that very, very disappointing and below par performance from everybody, really. So there is a lot to get through. Let's get started. So in terms of the lineup, then there wasn't really any surprises for Arsenal. Just that one change, and it was the enforced change, of course, with the injury to Granit Xhaka. So this was how we lined up. It was Ramsdale in goal. It's the back four that's been playing in recent games. Tomiyasu at right back, White and Gabriel in the centre, Tierney at left back. In the two in midfield, Thomas Partey, it was Lokonga that came in for Granit Xhaka as expected. And then further up the pitch, it was Ødegaard in the number 10 position, Saka on the right again, Smith-Rowe on the left, and Aubameyang through the middle. So again, no Nicolas Pepe. For Brighton then, again, they was pretty much as expected. The big news was Bissouma still wasn't fit. Good news for us, he's been their best player this season, so Bissouma was out. So this is how they line up. It was Sanchez in goal. They had a back three of Duffy, Dunk and Burn. Very tall back three that was, wasn't it? And it did cause us a lot of problems from set pieces, as we'll get on to. Their midfield, then Veltman was on the right. It was Gross and Lallana in the middle, say without Bissouma, and it was Corella on the left. And then their front three, it was Trossard and Moder were either side of our old mate Mopé. So they were the lineup. So I say not really any surprises from either team, and it was just a matter of who was going to turn up on the day. Yeah, difficult conditions, the wind, the rain, a slippy pitch, playing against a big physical opponent. And once again, Arsenal have shown that when it comes to these type of matches, we're just not up for it at all. This has been the case for quite a number of years now, as we know. We're still a little bit too lightweight when it comes to these type of games. And that was exactly how it proved. You know, people are saying that, you know, we've done well to come away with a point. And we did do well to get a point, but we didn't play well to get a point. We didn't deserve a point. We were very fortunate. The only reason why we came away with anything from this game is because Brighton were very, very wasteful in front of goal and didn't make the most of the opportunities that they had. Now, people have been saying, you know, that defensively we've been much more solid. We've only conceded one goal in our last 4 games, and you can't argue with the statistics there. But when you actually analyse it, we kept clean sheets against Norwich and Burnley, the bottom 2 in the Premier League, both of whom can't score goals against anybody. We also kept a clean sheet here at Brighton, which was more by luck than design. I'll say the chances of Brighton created the opportunities that they had. On another day, we would have lost this game maybe 3 or 4-0. That doesn't suggest to me that we're defending particularly well. When you remember that last season we had the 3rd best defensive record in the league, defending wasn't really the problem that we've been having. The problem's up the other end of the pitch, creating opportunities and scoring goals. This season we've scored just 5 in our 7 Premier League games, and 3 of those came in half an hour against Tottenham. So that's just really not good enough. And you can see that's where the problems are. That's where the problems were last season. And we've done nothing to address that. We bought 6 players in the summer, spent the most amount of money, and 4 of those players are defensive. A new goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale, who's doing well. 2 new fullbacks, which we needed. Tomiyasu at right back and Nuno Tavares as cover for left back. And also we spent the most money individually on Ben White, a centre back. So 4 defensive players have come in an area of the pitch that we were fairly decent last season. Yet further up the pitch where we needed to improve, what have we done? We've done nothing. We've signed Martin Ødegaard, but let's not forget he was with the club last season in the second half on loan. So he hasn't brought us anything different. He hasn't improved that area of the pitch. We haven't improved our attacking play. And this is the problem that we've got. We're not offering enough of a goal threat. And I say 5 goals in 7 Premier League games says it all. And until we sort that issue out, it doesn't matter how good defensively we are not going to make enough progress. We're not going to pick up enough wins, and we're not going to get enough points. This performance in particular just really summed up everything that is wrong with the club at the moment. You know, we can play really well in the odd game here and there, as we did last week against Tottenham, as we did last season against Tottenham at the Emirates as well. But it's following it up, isn't it, with consistent performances. You don't have to play well every week. We don't have to blitz teams and you know, win the games in the first half as we did last week. What we need to produce is consistently decent performances that's going to be able to get us enough results in the Premier League. And yes, you could say we got a point here, but I say that wasn't because we deserved the point, because we played well enough to get a point. We were fortunate that Brighton just couldn't put the ball in the net. And for me, that doesn't suggest any progress at all from last season. And that's what we wanted to see. That's what we expected to see. You know, yes, people say it's only 7 games and we've only had this actual team for the last 4 games where results have improved. Well, results have improved, but they couldn't have really got any worse, could they, after them first 3 games? And when you look at the fixtures that we've had, would we really have expected to have got any less than 10 points out of those 12? Probably not, when you look at who we were playing. You know, Tottenham was on paper probably the most difficult game at the time, but as it turned out, that turned out to be the easiest game, and we've struggled against the teams that really we would have expected to have maybe got better results in. Yes, it's never easy at Brighton. We struggled here before, although we did win this fixture last season. So yeah, it wasn't a very good performance from front to back, from first minute to the last minute. We created next to nothing. And I say, although we kept another clean sheet, our defending wasn't great. The fact that Brighton had so many opportunities at goal doesn't suggest to me that this was a good defensive performance. I don't know what's going on. Is it Arteta? Is it the players? Is it a mixture of both? We've got to ask ourselves that since Arteta's come in, yes, we've improved defensively. Under Unai Emery, we were conceding a lot of goals, and under Arsene Wenger in the latter years as well. And we have improved defensively over the last 2 or 3 years. Yes, I accept that we have. But that's taken away a massive part of our game, which is our attacking threat. And unfortunately, football is about scoring goals. And if you're not going to score enough goals, you're not going to win enough games, and you're not going to get enough points to be where we want to be in the table, which is challenging back in that top 6 to get back into Europe. It's a big problem. We haven't improved the personnel in that area of the pitch, and we certainly haven't improved the style of play to enable us to create more chances and score more goals. We're making bad decisions. Is it the players? Is it the manager? I'm really not sure, but something needs to change. It needs to improve. We need to get a lot more consistency, and also we need to provide a lot more of a goal for it. So in terms of man of the match, it's difficult, isn't it? Because nobody really stood out in this game. It was a poor performance all round. I thought Ramsdale in goal, he did okay at times, but he looked a little bit shaky at times as well. Yes, difficult conditions for a goalkeeper with the wind, the way that Brighton played, get balls into the box. They've got a lot of tall players to cause us problems, and maybe Ramsdale struggled a little bit. He made a couple of good saves, particularly one at the end, which maybe enabled us to get the point. So he didn't have a bad game, but maybe his shakiest game so far. But we'll make allowances for him because he is playing so well. I thought the defence was pretty poor overall, actually. I thought Tomiyasu had his worst game for us. Again, he's young, he's just come into the Premier League, and we've got to make allowances for him, but we can't disguise the fact that he had a really difficult game, and it's how he responds to that, how he learns from that, that's going to be important. Of course, Ben White, back on his old stomping ground. He did okay, didn't he? But again, he looks a bit shaky at times. He's still not really settled properly. I'm sure he's going to improve, but again, this wasn't a great performance from him. And we do need to really talk about Kieran Tierney at left back. He's having a really poor start to the season, isn't he? He's not had a great game at all since the start. He looks panicked every time he gets the ball. He's just hoofing it up the pitch, not really picking out passes. He's not getting forward as much as he used to do. And when he does, his deliveries into the box aren't as good generally either. And I say defensively, he's really struggling as well. So again, a pretty poor performance from Kieran Tierney. He does need to improve and get back to the sort of form that we know he's capable of. The 2 in midfield got overrun a little bit of time, didn't they? Thomas Partey's shooting needs to improve as well. He had 3 or 4 efforts from outside the box, went into the crowd. So that needs to improve. Sambi Lokonga, again, another young player. This was maybe his most difficult game as well. He struggled to get a grip in the midfield as well. And you think Brighton didn't even have Basuma in there. Imagine what might have happened if he'd been fit for them. So, yeah, not great from the 2 in midfield. And going forward, we just had nothing at all. Ødegaard was completely anonymous in this game. Maybe the conditions didn't suit him or whatever it was, I don't know. But this is a job for the manager to sort out beforehand, isn't it? You should know your players. You should know which players are going to be able to produce performances when the conditions are like that. It wasn't Ødegaard's day. Very poor from him. And I thought the front 3 were pretty anonymous as well. Saka had 1 or 2 moments. He could have scored early on. He did well for that cross when Aubameyang hit the post with a header. But other than that, he didn't maybe contribute enough. Smith Rowe had a great chance in the second half, didn't he, to maybe get us the goal. He could have squared it to Saka, who would have had a tap in. Instead, he tried a shot himself. And again, it's that decision making, isn't it? Young players don't always make the right decision. Unfortunately, we're seeing that sometimes with Saka and Smith Rowe. They are still our brightest hopes, and when they're not on their game, as they wasn't, we offer very little. And of course, Aubameyang, just terrible game for him. The ball just wasn't sticking to him at all. It was bouncing off him. He didn't get any service, and you can't really blame him for that. But his overall play wasn't good enough. When you're under pressure away from home, when you get the ball forward, it's got to stick. Your forwards have got to hold the ball up. He wasn't able to do that, and he was really poor. So only leaves one player for man of the match. He's been man of the match a few games recently, and it is, of course, Gabriel. Once again, he's like a one-man defence, isn't he? And it has been his return to the side that's coincided with a run of clean sheets. That's no coincidence. He's covering for the mistakes of Ben White. He's covering for the mistakes of Kieran Tierney. He's just everywhere, blocking things, heading everything away. He's been brilliant at the back. He was brilliant at Burnley in our last away game. He was brilliant again here. So the man of the match has to go to Gabriel. So again, we're seeing the same old problems. We're not able to string together a decent run of performances. Yes, you could say 4 unbeaten in the Premier League, 3 wins, 3 clean sheets. Isn't a bad run when you look at how we started. But as I said before, these are games that we should have expected to have got those sort of results in. You know, we're still not scoring enough goals. We're not offering enough of a goal threat. And we're not going to keep keeping these clean sheets when we're allowing teams like Brighton to have as many chances against us as they did. And I say it was more luck than judgment that we got away with a point here. Yes, we need to take that, and we need to dust ourselves down now going into international break. The last international break was a good opportunity for us to regroup, and we did come back a bit stronger. We need the same response this time. We've got some really tough games coming up, haven't we? We're going to really be tested. Crystal Palace, of course, next after the break. Patrick Vieira coming back to the Emirates. That's going to be a real big test, and Villa as well after that. So things aren't going to get any easier. We're going to be really tested now over the next 2 or 3 months, and this is when we're going to see whether or not this new look young side is up to the job, whether Arteta as a coach is up to the job, or whether or not we've got the same old problems and we're going to be having the same old issues. And if that's going to be the case, we need to maybe look at what changes need to be made to help us to get back where we need to be, which is back in the top 6 and back into Europe. It's massively important that we do that this season, and at the moment I'm not convinced we've got enough about us to achieve that. So there's loads coming up on the channel then this week. It isn't an international break, but there are still games in the WSL. And of course, Arsenal women are playing away at Barcelona tomorrow as they kick off their Champions League campaign. The only Arsenal team you can see in Europe this season. So I'll be doing a watch along of that game. The kickoff's at 8 o'clock. I'll probably go live about 10 to 8 with your team news, a bit of build up to that, and then full match commentary of that as Arsenal travel to Barcelona. We'll have to rearrange the Tuesday clinic this week, or maybe we might have to postpone it depending on when the guys are available. We're then, of course, building up towards the weekend. It's an international break for the men. The women are in action on Sunday against Everton at Boreham Wood. So we'll have the Arsenal women's show on Friday, as usual, 7:30 with the guys in. And then I'll be doing a watch along of the Everton game as well. And then, of course, after that, we get the international break out of the way. And then next week, we'll be building up towards the big Premier League clash, of course, the following Monday evening when I say Crystal Palace are at the Emirates, the return of Patrick Vieira. That's going to be a good night. It's going to be a good game. Can Arsenal put this disappointing performance behind us and come back with another strong performance in a London derby at home? We'll have to wait and see. So all that's coming up on the channel. So if you are new here, all that sounds like it might appeal to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free of charge. It helps the channel reach a larger audience. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like as well. Share the content around. I say, please drop your comments in the box what you made of the performance at Brighton. So loads coming up. Please stay tuned. And as always, come on, you Gunners. Come on.